You're listening to the Bare Metal Cyber Prepcast, created to help you succeed in your educational journey. Learn more at baremetalcyber.com, where additional prepcasts, books, and training materials await. Let's get started. Virtualization has become a cornerstone of modern computing, enabling organizations to consolidate hardware, optimize resource use, and scale environments efficiently. Yet with this flexibility comes a complex stack of components that must be secured to prevent vulnerabilities from cascading through the system. The virtualization stack consists of hardware, hypervisors, virtual networks, storage abstractions, and guest operating systems. Each layer introduces both capability and risk, making hardening practices essential. Protecting hypervisors and virtual machines ensures that the promises of efficiency do not compromise confidentiality, integrity, or availability. When managed poorly, virtualization can create invisible attack surfaces where adversaries move laterally or escalate privileges. When managed well, it becomes a resilient foundation, supporting secure multi-tenant environments and cloud-scale platforms. For learners, mastering virtualization security is about appreciating both the technology and the governance that preserve trust across shared infrastructure. The virtualization stack can be thought of as a layered tower, with hardware at the bottom and applications at the top. Physical servers provide CPU, memory, and storage resources. Sitting directly above is the hypervisor, which partitions those resources into isolated environments. Virtual networking components then allow communication within and beyond the host, while virtual storage controllers present logical disks to each guest. Finally, guest operating systems run on top, oblivious to the abstraction beneath. Each component plays a distinct role. Hardware enforces physical limits, hypervisors allocate resources, networking directs traffic, and storage holds data. Understanding this stack is critical because weaknesses at any layer can undermine the entire environment. For example, an improperly secured virtual switch may allow an attacker to intercept traffic, while an unpatched guest operating system could become a beachhead for privilege escalation. Hardening requires examining the entire stack, not just individual layers, and ensuring that security measures interlock effectively. At the heart of virtualization lies the hypervisor, also known as the virtual machine monitor. Its job is to allocate CPU cycles, memory pages, storage blocks, and network interfaces to guest systems, ensuring that each virtual machine operates independently. This mediation is what allows dozens of workloads to share a single piece of hardware without interfering with one another. From a security perspective, the hypervisor is a high-value target because compromising it would provide an attacker control over every guest running above. To prevent such outcomes, hypervisors must be kept lean, regularly patched, and monitored carefully. Their central role also makes them a choke point for visibility and governance. Logs of hypervisor actions can help administrators detect abnormal activity, such as unauthorized configuration changes. Ultimately, the hypervisor is both the enabler and the guardian of virtualization, and its security dictates the trustworthiness of every dependent workload. Type 1 hypervisors, often called bare metal hypervisors, run directly on the host hardware without a general-purpose operating system in between. Because they eliminate unnecessary layers, they present a reduced attack surface compared with hosted models. This makes them the preferred choice for production-grade environments where performance and isolation are paramount. Examples include VMware ESXi and Microsoft Hyper-V in bare metal mode. Their streamlined nature allows administrators to enforce stricter access controls and reduces the opportunities for misconfigurations at the operating system layer. That said, Type 1 hypervisors still require rigorous patching and configuration, as their privileged position makes any flaw especially dangerous. Their strength lies in their simplicity. Fewer moving parts generally mean fewer vulnerabilities. For learners, understanding why bare metal hypervisors are favored provides insight into the broader principle that reducing complexity often leads to stronger security foundations in system design. Type 2 hypervisors, in contrast, operate on top of a host operating system. This design introduces additional flexibility as it allows virtualization to run on ordinary desktops and laptops without specialized configurations. Examples include Oracle VirtualBox or VMware Workstation. While useful for development, testing, and lightweight workloads, Type 2 hypervisors inherently carry more risk because they rely on the security of the host operating system. If the host is compromised, attackers may gain access to the hypervisor and its guests. Additionally, the extra layer adds complexity and increases the overall attack surface. This does not mean that Type 2 hypervisors are insecure, but they are not ideal for sensitive production workloads. Instead, they are best suited for environments where convenience and accessibility outweigh the need for hardened isolation. Understanding this distinction helps professionals select the right hypervisor model for the context, balancing performance, exposure, and operational requirements. Virtual switches play a crucial role in enabling communication within virtualization environments. These software-defined switches allow virtual machines on the same host to communicate with each other and with external networks. Like their physical counterparts, they provide features such as port groups, VLAN tagging, and isolation. Security policies enforced at the virtual switch can control traffic flows, block unauthorized connections, and detect anomalies. However, misconfigured virtual switches can create blind spots, allowing traffic to bypass inspection or enabling attackers to conduct sniffing attacks. For example, if promiscuous mode is enabled unnecessarily, a compromised guest may capture traffic intended for others. To mitigate these risks, administrators must apply network segmentation, disable unused features, and ensure that virtual switches integrate with broader monitoring systems. By treating virtual switches with the same rigor as physical network devices, organizations ensure that virtualization does not weaken their overall security posture. Virtual storage controllers abstract physical storage into logical disks that guests perceive as ordinary drives. These logical disks may map to files on the host, volumes carved from storage arrays, or networked block devices. This abstraction simplifies administration, allowing storage to be dynamically allocated and resized without downtime. From a security standpoint, however, it introduces new considerations. Improper isolation between logical disks could expose sensitive data, and weak access controls may allow one guest to interfere with another's storage. Encryption of volumes and strong role-based access to storage management interfaces reduce these risks. Snapshots and cloning features, while valuable, also require governance to prevent uncontrolled duplication of sensitive data. By securing storage at both the virtualization and underlying hardware levels, organizations maintain confidentiality and integrity while still reaping the benefits of flexibility. Virtual storage, like networking, must be recognized as a critical control point in virtualization security. Guest tools packages, often provided by hypervisor vendors, enhance performance and manageability by enabling features such as optimized drivers, clipboard sharing, or time synchronization. While beneficial, these tools introduce potential risks if not properly managed. Outdated or tampered packages may contain vulnerabilities, creating backdoors into the guest. Strict version control ensures that tools are updated promptly when patches are released. Integrity checks such as code signing confirm that packages come from trusted sources. Organizations should also evaluate which features are necessary, disabling those that expand the attack surface without providing essential functionality. For instance, enabling copy and paste integration between host and guest may improve convenience but weaken isolation. By treating guest tools as critical software rather than optional add-ons, administrators reinforce the security posture of virtual machines and prevent overlooked pathways for attackers. Management plane access is among the most sensitive points in virtualization environments. It provides administrators with the ability to create, modify, or delete virtual machines, configure networking, and adjust storage. Compromise of this access is equivalent to seizing the keys to the kingdom. For this reason, management plane interfaces must be tightly controlled. Best practices include federation with enterprise identity systems, mandatory multi-factor authentication, and strict logging of all administrative actions. Role-based access ensures that only authorized personnel can perform high-risk operations, and session recording adds accountability. Audits of these logs help detect misuse and provide evidence for compliance. Given the power of the management plane, any negligence here can negate hardening efforts elsewhere. Protecting this control point ensures that administrative authority is exercised responsibly, with oversight and safeguards that prevent both malicious abuse and accidental misconfiguration. Baseline hardening establishes secure defaults for both hypervisors and guest operating systems. Frameworks such as CIS benchmarks and STIGs provide detailed checklists for reducing attack surfaces, covering topics like disabling unnecessary services, enforcing password policies, and applying secure logging configurations. By applying these guidelines, organizations move from generic installations to hardened builds that resist common attacks. Baseline hardening also creates a reference point against which drift can be measured. For example, if a virtual machine diverges from its hardened template, automated monitoring can detect and correct the deviation. In practice, hardening must balance security with functionality, ensuring that essential services remain available while unnecessary risks are removed. This disciplined approach transforms ad hoc environments into predictable, defensible systems, where administrators can demonstrate compliance and auditors can validate controls. Without a strong baseline, other security measures rest on unstable foundations. VM escape represents one of the most severe threats in virtualization. This attack occurs when a malicious guest breaks isolation and gains access to the hypervisor or neighboring guests. Although rare, such vulnerabilities have been demonstrated in research and occasionally exploited in the wild. A successful escape compromises the entire host, undermining the security of every workload running on it. Preventing escape requires diligent patching of hypervisors, careful configuration, and minimizing exposure of guest-to-host interfaces. For example, disabling unnecessary shared features like clipboard access or folder sharing reduces potential pathways. Security monitoring should also include indicators of unusual guest behavior that might precede escape attempts. The severity of this threat lies in its systemic nature. One weak guest can imperil dozens of otherwise secure workloads. By prioritizing prevention and adopting layered defenses, organizations reduce the risk of catastrophic breaches stemming from VM escape vulnerabilities. Side-channel risks are another subtle but powerful category of threats in multi-tenant virtualization environments. These attacks exploit the way shared hardware components, such as caches, branch predictors, or timing mechanisms, reveal information about other processes. Unlike direct exploits, side-channel attacks can allow an adversary to infer sensitive data without breaching isolation outright. High-profile examples include vulnerabilities like Spectre and Meltdown, which demonstrated how speculative execution features could be abused. Mitigating these risks requires a combination of microcode updates, hypervisor patches, and workload isolation strategies. For sensitive tenants, dedicated hosts or hardware partitioning may be necessary. Performance trade-offs often accompany mitigations, forcing organizations to balance security with efficiency. Side-channel risks remind us that even when software isolation appears intact, the shared nature of hardware introduces hidden attack vectors. Recognizing and addressing these risks is essential for organizations running critical workloads in shared virtualization environments. Snapshot governance is an often overlooked element of virtualization security. Snapshots capture the state of a virtual machine at a specific point in time, enabling rollback and rapid recovery. However, unmanaged snapshots can proliferate, consuming storage and creating uncontrolled copies of sensitive data. Each snapshot may contain encryption keys, credentials, or proprietary information that remain exposed long after their operational use has ended. Effective governance requires defining policies for snapshot creation, retention, and deletion. Key custody must be addressed, ensuring that snapshots containing encrypted data remain tied to proper key management. Data minimization helps reduce the footprint of preserved snapshots, while lifecycle controls ensure timely cleanup. Without governance, snapshots can become shadow archives that undermine security and compliance. When managed carefully, however, they serve as powerful tools for resilience while still maintaining confidentiality and integrity. Golden image hygiene ensures that virtual machines are deployed from secure, pre-hardened templates rather than ad hoc installations. Golden images embed best practices such as patched operating systems, disabled unnecessary services, and standardized configurations. By versioning and signing these images, organizations ensure traceability and integrity, preventing tampered or outdated templates from being used. This practice reduces configuration drift, as new virtual machines consistently start from a trusted baseline. For example, a development team spinning up dozens of instances can rely on golden images to ensure uniform security controls. Hygiene also involves updating these images regularly to reflect new patches and lessons learned. Without disciplined management, golden images can themselves become outdated vulnerabilities. By treating them as living artifacts, organizations preserve both efficiency and security, turning image-based deployment into a proactive safeguard rather than a potential liability. Patch orchestration in virtualization environments extends beyond guest operating systems to include hypervisors, firmware, and drivers. Each of these components may contain vulnerabilities that attackers can exploit to escalate privileges or bypass isolation. Coordinating updates across these layers is complex but essential. For example, patching a hypervisor may require downtime or live migration of guests, while firmware updates may introduce compatibility risks. Orchestration requires scheduling, testing, and rollback plans to ensure that patches improve security without disrupting operations. Prioritization is also key. Vulnerabilities that enable escape or privilege escalation demand urgent attention. Automating aspects of patching reduces delays and inconsistencies, but human oversight ensures that updates align with operational realities. Without orchestration, patching becomes fragmented, leaving critical gaps. With it, organizations achieve a balance between agility and assurance, reinforcing virtualization as a resilient and trustworthy foundation for workloads. Logging and telemetry baselines provide the visibility required to monitor and assure virtualization environments. Administrative actions, configuration changes, and security events must be captured and retained for analysis. For example, logs of hypervisor configuration changes can reveal whether unauthorized alterations occurred, while guest activity logs support forensic investigations. Telemetry extends this visibility by providing performance and operational metrics, enabling detection of anomalies such as resource overcommitment or unusual traffic flows. Establishing baselines allows deviations to be detected quickly, supporting both security operations and compliance. Storage of logs must be secure and tamper-resistant, with access controls and retention policies aligned to legal and regulatory requirements. By building comprehensive logging into virtualization environments, organizations create the transparency needed for both proactive defense and reactive investigation. Without this visibility, virtualization remains a black box, efficient but vulnerable to hidden threats. For more cyber-related content and books, please check out cyberauthor.me. Also, there are other prepcasts on cybersecurity and more at baremetalcyber.com. Secure Boot provides the first line of defense in a virtualized environment by ensuring that only trusted bootloaders and kernels are executed during system startup. It works by verifying digital signatures against trusted certificates, blocking unauthorized or tampered components from running. Measured Boot takes this a step further by recording integrity measurements in a Trusted Platform Module, or TPM, creating a verifiable log of what was loaded. This log can later be examined by security tools or attestation services to confirm that the system booted into a known good state. Together, Secure Boot and Measured Boot prevent rootkits or low-level malware from silently compromising hosts or hypervisors before higher-level defenses activate. In virtualization contexts, these protections extend the trust chain from hardware to hypervisor, assuring administrators that the foundation of their environment has not been tampered with. Without them, all higher-layer security controls rest on uncertain ground. Virtual Trusted Platform Modules, or VTPMs, bring attestation and key protection capabilities directly to guest operating systems. A VTPM emulates the functions of a physical TPM, providing guests with secure storage for cryptographic keys and the ability to verify their own integrity. This feature is especially valuable for enabling disk encryption within virtual machines, where the VTPM can protect keys against theft or duplication. For example, a Windows guest using BitLocker can bind its encryption keys to a VTPM, ensuring that the disk remains inaccessible if copied to another host. Attestation allows cloud customers to verify that their virtual machines are running in trusted configurations. By extending TPM functionality into the virtual layer, VTPMs support the same assurances that physical servers enjoy, helping organizations meet compliance obligations and build confidence in multi-tenant environments where workloads share common physical infrastructure. Single Root I/O Virtualization, or SRIOV, is a technology that allows a physical device, such as a network card, to be shared directly among multiple virtual machines while maintaining hardware-enforced isolation. Unlike traditional emulated devices, SRIOV creates virtual functions that provide near-native performance with strong separation. This combination of efficiency and security is particularly important for workloads with high throughput or low latency requirements, such as financial trading or real-time analytics. However, SRIOV introduces new management challenges. Administrators must ensure that access to virtual functions is properly scoped, preventing guests from interfering with each other. Driver security also becomes critical, as vulnerabilities in the SRIOV stack could undermine isolation. When configured correctly, SRIOV demonstrates how virtualization can balance performance and safety, offering organizations the ability to scale demanding workloads without sacrificing the separation needed to maintain trust in multi-tenant environments. Device pass-through provides another mechanism for granting virtual machines access to physical hardware, but it differs from SRIOV in that it dedicates entire devices directly to guests. For example, a graphics processing unit might be passed through to a VM for intensive rendering or machine learning workloads. While pass-through delivers powerful performance benefits, it also introduces security concerns. Because the hypervisor has less visibility and control over direct device access, vulnerabilities in drivers or firmware can be exploited to escape isolation. Compensating controls, such as strict access scoping, monitoring, and attestation, are necessary to reduce risk. Pass-through should be reserved for workloads that genuinely require it, as the trade-offs between performance and security must be carefully weighed. Used judiciously, it enables specialized use cases. Used recklessly, it can open significant attack vectors into otherwise hardened environments. Paravirtualized drivers improve the efficiency of I/O operations by allowing virtual machines to interact with the hypervisor in ways optimized for performance. These drivers avoid the overhead of emulating physical hardware, making tasks like disk access and networking faster and more reliable. However, because paravirtualized drivers sit at a critical boundary between guest and host, they must come from vetted supply chains and be updated regularly. A compromised driver could provide attackers with privileged access or a stealthy channel into the hypervisor. To mitigate such risks, administrators should verify signatures, restrict installation to trusted sources, and monitor driver behavior. In practice, paravirtualized drivers exemplify the dual nature of virtualization technologies. They deliver performance benefits but also expand the attack surface. Effective governance ensures that their advantages are realized, while preventing them from becoming weak links in the chain of isolation. Non-uniform memory access, or NUMA, awareness, and CPU pinning are techniques used to improve determinism and performance for latency-sensitive virtual machines. NUMA divides memory into regions associated with specific CPUs, meaning that processes run more efficiently when memory and processors are aligned. In virtualization, awareness of NUMA topology allows workloads to be scheduled in ways that minimize latency and avoid resource contention. CPU pinning goes further, assigning specific physical cores to particular virtual machines, ensuring consistent performance. These techniques are particularly relevant for workloads like high-frequency trading or real-time control systems, where microseconds matter. While not primarily security controls, they contribute to predictability, reducing the likelihood of resource-based denial-of-service conditions caused by overcommitment. When combined with other safeguards, NUMA awareness and CPU pinning illustrate how virtualization tuning can enhance both performance and stability, creating environments that are resilient under demanding operational conditions. Hypervisor introspection is a security technique where the hypervisor monitors guest behavior from outside the virtual machine. Because it operates externally, it can detect stealthy techniques that evade detection within the guest itself. For example, introspection can identify unauthorized kernel modifications, hidden processes, or malicious memory injections. This external perspective provides a powerful advantage, as attackers inside the guest often cannot tamper with or evade hypervisor-level monitoring. However, introspection requires careful tuning to balance performance overhead with visibility. It also depends on the accuracy of detection logic, as false positives could overwhelm administrators. Despite these challenges, hypervisor introspection adds depth to defenses by introducing a vantage point unavailable to guest-based tools. It exemplifies the layered approach of Domain 3 principles. By monitoring at multiple levels, organizations reduce blind spots and strengthen resilience against advanced threats that exploit virtualization's shared infrastructure. Network microsegmentation provides fine-grained control over traffic between virtual machines, enforcing policies at the workload level rather than relying solely on broad network boundaries. In east-west traffic, the internal communication between workloads microsegmentation becomes essential for containing lateral movement. By applying security groups, virtual firewalls, and workload-specific rules, organizations can prevent compromised machines from spreading attacks across the environment. For example, a database VM may only accept traffic from application servers on specific ports, blocking all other attempts. Microsegmentation also enhances visibility, as policies can be logged and monitored to detect anomalous flows. Implementing it requires planning to avoid excessive complexity, but when done well, it creates a layered defense that reduces reliance on perimeter firewalls. In cloud and virtualized environments where workloads are highly dynamic, microsegmentation represents a modern approach to network security, aligning protection with the granular realities of distributed infrastructure. Encryption at rest is a fundamental safeguard for protecting the data associated with virtual machines. VM disks, snapshots, and backups often contain sensitive information from operating system files to user data. Encrypting these assets ensures that if storage media are stolen or improperly accessed, the data remains unreadable without the proper keys. Key management is central to this process, requiring integration with hardware modules, cloud key services, and rotation policies. For example, snapshots containing regulated data should be encrypted with customer-managed keys, rotated regularly to reduce risk. Encryption must also align with lifecycle policies, ensuring that decommissioned volumes are securely sanitized. Without encryption, virtual storage can become a silent liability, as uncontrolled copies linger in backups or archives. With encryption and disciplined key custody, organizations maintain confidentiality and compliance, transforming storage into a secure foundation rather than a hidden risk in virtualization environments. Live migration enables virtual machines to move between hosts without downtime, supporting load balancing and maintenance. However, this powerful feature introduces security risks if not properly controlled. During migration, memory contents and CPU state are transmitted between hosts, creating opportunities for interception or tampering. Securing live migration requires encrypting transport channels, isolating credentials used for authentication, and coordinating locking semantics to prevent duplication or corruption. For example, attackers could exploit weak migration controls to inject malicious states or hijack sessions. Organizations must treat migration pathways with the same rigor as other privileged operations, monitoring and logging activity for assurance. While live migration enhances availability, it must be implemented defensively to avoid becoming an attack vector. Balancing agility and security ensures that the benefits of seamless workload movement are realized without undermining the trust that virtualization environments depend upon. Time synchronization across hosts and guests is vital for maintaining reliable forensic timelines. Without consistent clocks, logs, and event records may present conflicting or misleading sequences, complicating investigations. Synchronization protocols such as Network Time Protocol ensure that all components in the virtualization stack reference a trusted time source. This alignment allows administrators to reconstruct events accurately, correlating activity across multiple systems. For example, if an intrusion spans several virtual machines, synchronized timestamps clarify the order of actions and the attacker's path. Time synchronization also supports cryptographic functions, where skewed clocks can cause failures in certificates or authentication protocols. In environments where precision matters, dedicated and authenticated time sources reduce the risk of tampering. Accurate timekeeping may appear mundane, but it underpins both operational stability and forensic credibility, making it an essential element of virtualization security and governance. Capacity safeguards protect against denial of service risks by defining ceilings for overcommitment of CPU, memory, and storage. Virtualization allows resources to be shared elastically, but allocating more than the physical limits can destabilize systems if unchecked. For example, if too many virtual machines compete for the same memory, performance may degrade, or critical workloads may fail outright. Safeguards establish thresholds that prevent overallocation, ensuring that essential services remain available even during spikes in demand. Monitoring usage patterns and applying policies for resource reservations further reduce the risk of contention. These safeguards are not only operational but also security-related, as attackers could intentionally create resource exhaustion to disrupt services. By balancing elasticity with protective limits, organizations sustain performance and resilience, maintaining trust that virtualized infrastructures will continue to function even under stress or adversarial conditions. Administrative path isolation strengthens security by confining privileged access to controlled channels. Rather than allowing administrators to connect from any endpoint, access is routed through hardened bastion hosts that enforce additional controls. Just-in-time elevation ensures that privileges are granted only when needed and revoked immediately afterward. Session recording captures all administrative actions, creating accountability and evidence for audits. For example, an administrator troubleshooting a VM would request temporary access, complete their task, and have the session logged for later review. This model minimizes standing privileges and reduces the risk of compromise spreading from user endpoints to the virtualization management plane. Administrative path isolation reflects the principle that powerful controls must be constrained by process, technology, and oversight. By combining restricted entry points, time-limited access, and full auditing, organizations confine risk while maintaining operational agility in managing virtual environments. Deprovisioning procedures close the lifecycle of virtual machines by ensuring that no residual risks remain after workloads are retired. Proper deprovisioning includes sanitizing virtual disks, revoking credentials, and performing crypto erase for associated volumes and snapshots. Without these steps, sensitive data may persist in forgotten resources, creating opportunities for unauthorized access. For example, an unencrypted backup left from a decommissioned VM could expose confidential information long after its intended use. Automated workflows help enforce consistency, triggering secure disposal actions whenever VMs are decommissioned. Documentation of these processes further demonstrates compliance with data protection regulations. Deprovisioning is the counterpart to provisioning. Just as secure baselines govern how resources are created, disciplined sanitization governs how they are retired. By treating deprovisioning as a deliberate security process rather than an afterthought, organizations prevent the buildup of shadow risks and maintain confidence in their virtualization lifecycle management. For learners, exam relevance lies in recognizing hypervisor risks, understanding isolation controls, and appreciating the importance of verifiable hardening evidence. Questions may focus on distinguishing between hypervisor types, identifying mitigation strategies for threats like VM escape, or applying best practices for snapshot governance and management plane security. The key takeaway is that virtualization security is holistic, spanning hardware assurances, software controls, and operational procedures. Professionals must not only implement these measures, but also be able to demonstrate that they are functioning, as defensibility is just as important as technical correctness. Exam readiness in this area is about connecting concepts into a layered defense model, where hypervisor governance, VM hardening, and lifecycle practices all reinforce one another. Mastery of this topic equips candidates to address both theoretical exam scenarios and the real-world demands of securing shared, virtualized infrastructures. In conclusion, disciplined hypervisor governance and virtual machine hardening preserve the core principles of isolation, performance, and assurance in shared infrastructures. By combining low-level protections such as secure boot and VTPM with operational safeguards like microsegmentation, patch orchestration, and deprovisioning, organizations construct resilient virtualization environments. The virtualization stack is not merely a technical convenience, but a critical platform that underpins cloud computing, data centers, and enterprise workloads. Weaknesses at this layer can ripple upward, compromising entire ecosystems. Conversely, robust governance transforms virtualization into a trustworthy foundation, enabling scalability and agility without sacrificing security. For professionals, this domain reinforces the lesson that infrastructure security must be both comprehensive and verifiable, spanning from hardware assurances to lifecycle management. Ultimately, mastering virtualization hardening ensures that organizations can innovate confidently while protecting the integrity of their digital operations. Thanks for tuning in to the Bare Metal Cyber Prepcast, your trusted source for cybersecurity news and insights. Remember to subscribe at baremetalcyber.com so you never miss an update. And visit cyberauthor.me for best-selling cybersecurity books that equip you with expert knowledge. Until next time, stay secure and stay vigilant.